Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? What became of my voice? Where's my freedom? What became of my voice? Am I just another echo, lost in the noise? You promised liberty, you promised peace. Said this was a land where hate would cease. But I see the same lies, the same old game. Caught in the crossfire, upon the blame. I'm tired of being a victim of shame. Labeled and boxed, then tossed in the flames.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us. All I wanna say is that they don't really care about us. No, they don't really care about us.
They don't care about us. All I wanna say is they don't care about us.
NAACP, BLM, voices raised, names on the list. They say they see change, but we're caught in the mist. Red or blue tie, just different suits. Talking the same talk, they don't walk in our boots. Every debate, every press release, a stage performance, but where's the peace? Man, if King was here, he'd be marching still. He'd be seeing through the smoke, fight for real.
All I wanna say is they don't really care about us.
They don't really care about us.
Nah, they don't really care about us.
No, they don't really care about us.
All I wanna say is
that they don't really care about us.
No,
they don't really care about us. It just was really, it hits home, and it's obviously that they don't care about us.
They don't care about us. They don't care about us. They don't care about us.
See, some things in life they don't want to show. What's buried deep down, what's hid below. If Malcolm was here, he'd shout and fight. See the same battle, he'd make it right. Everybody's mad, situation's tight. Tensions building, wrong versus right. Black or not, it's the news they sell. Slinging division, a story to tell. Kick me, push me, mark me as weak, but you'll never break me. My spirit won't leak. You can't twist the truth, painted in lies. One day we'll rise and open your eyes.
They took our history, but they can't take the song.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Ooh, this kind of shaky this morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Urban Conservative. And I want to talk this morning about the Willie Lynch letter and the blueprint for systemic racism in 2025. But before I get into that, I got something special for y'all here today. And here is Louis Blaze. Louis, what crazy top 5. And I'll be right back right after this. Louis Blaze, crazy top 5.
Come on, yeah. Blue, man, you
to be the greatest, you gotta win. Yeah. You know, and I think that's what's
crazy.
Like, I just got the mindset of a winner. I have the will and the desire to be great, you know.
Once I
Most
decide,
definitely.
I thought I told shit, nigga.
Y'all can settle for
Keep my foot on their motherfucking neck.
Yeah.
Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Blow up your top 5 so flames ride on it. Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5 if Blaze not on it. Blow up your top 5 so flames ride on it. I pop my shit from time to time, but I can back it up. P.O.P. hold it down, choke 'em out as an act of love. I'm sick of rappers getting on these tracks and acting tough. Catch 'em at the back of the club and get to smacking 'em up. Drag his body down the alley, throw 'em in the back of the truck. For disrespecting hip-hop, I think it's time we had enough. Cause how many times we gotta hear about that trash you done? Bragging on drugs, looking like a zombie and flashing guns, huh? Blood in my eyes, tucking with pride. Discuss with the wise, don't ever let them fuck with your mind. Oh baby, I'm going crazy, thoughts so shady lately. Wanna rob every DJ in my city who don't play me. They ain't know he was swift like a stick-up kid. Baby boy, you gon' take this hit, put your chin up, kid. I provide a key to game is the teacher, stand on business. Get it misunderstood, blow your brains like an astrophysics. Blacking out because I'm Afrocentric. Drinking holy water with the gods in heaven while we plan your existence. And you can be destroyed. I don't fuck with rappers, cause I be annoyed. Most of the medicine is in everything that we avoid. Synchronized the silence, still we bring the noise. Voices in my head say it's wartime, let's be deployed. They provoking me, that was a daily choice. I feed the void. That was more stupid than those who entertain the key of boys. Yeah, I'm from Minnesota, North Star soldier. Know my heart is colder. When it comes to truth, I'ma be the exposer of all the vultures trying to eat off the culture. Money hungry leeches try to control the artists when we bring the exposure. Don't need the label or don't need the promoter, especially when they janky and always trying to get over. I can see in your composure, we not as syncing, I can't be your composer. I orchestrate with frequencies, it's hard to See, because you hardly sober. Smoked out, whole gang choked out. Hip-hop was dope until the rappers turned doped out. Turn into some divas when that red carpet roll out. Go sell they soul out for some money and some more clout. And I can't date a rap chick, cause if that shit get toxic, I'm a disser in all my songs till she pay me to stop it. I got a profit, hell yeah, you know I'm keeping it peak. You know that pussy run the world unless it be on the leash. You be in the cheeks, but your name don't even be on the lease. So when she get mad at you, you gon' be on the streets. I know a lot of local rapper niggas out here living like that, and always flex when they on the gram, and we don't like that. Look, but let me mind my business. I've been building, be the biggest, be my only mission. And now I be the Pac, you know I'm riding with ambition. So unlimited with it, just like my ammunition. Let's go. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Blow up your top 5, so flames right on it. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Fuck your top 5, it blaze not on it. Blow up your top 5, so flames right on it. Blaze.
Hey, that was crazy. Top 5. Louis Blaze. Minneapolis' own, Minnesota's own. And you know, I love to support others, especially in my own area. You know what I'm saying? I'm from Minnesota. I love being a Minnesota boy. I love being from here. I love being born and raised. There ain't nothing like it. And to be honest, I was looking at something because I'm having, you know, I already know I've been having trouble uploading my album. And the crazy part is I looked at my streams for A Letter to God and A Letter to the Devil. And god damn, you know, it's crazy as hell when you get more love all over the world and nobody really recognizes you locally. You know what I'm saying? But it's all good. Man, what I want to get into this morning, right, is about the Willie Lynch letter and how most people think that it's fake. Right. And it probably is. I'm not I don't disagree with you one bit. I do not disagree with you. The thing of it is that I think it's been in our culture long enough that just like with the Stockholm syndrome, it starts to be like, okay, you can read it. How is it not real? You know what I'm saying? Because they put classism, ableism, ageism, you know, young versus old versus young, women versus man. And how does that not separate us? How does that not make us slaves to a system when we sit here and we think, we look at this, my thing of it is, right? And I still can't get over it because somebody said they prefer A.K. Kamara because he's in Washington, D.C., and I'm at home. I said, you know what the difference is? Is that I try to go to these meetings. And I shouldn't even say try, because I do. When they see the name Chaz Neal, because of what I'm known for, I'm known at spitting at police. I'm known for shutting down highways. I'm known for fucking up police departments, city halls, shutting down meetings, being somebody that calls out the evil, the wrong in our communities. So that's why a lot of people don't want to work with me because they're not comfortable looking at their own skeletons in their closet like I have been. Because I'm a truthful person. I'm open and honest. And that's what I wanted to talk about is because Willie Lynch and the power of division. Because if it's not real, right? If this is all make-believe, why is it that everything that he talks about in this letter, and I get it, if it's a myth, it's a myth. But the years add up to chattel slavery, to how you see what's going on in our communities with everything, with the isms. You know, you see, I got niggas out here. What's crazy is I ain't even gonna get into that right now. You know what I'm saying? Trump came out here yesterday and said that there's 2 genders in America. There's a man and a woman. Because who did God create? Adam and Eve. Not Adam and Steve. And that's your own. If you want to be, this my thing of it is, man, because I really honestly, I was watching something this morning. I seen a Democrat in a committee hearing, and I was last week they weren't there. So I'm pretty sure they kind of decided I just thought that was weird that Jamie Long and West Lynn and she's from Plymouth, Bonnie, they were there this morning. And I was like, wait, what? So it was an education committee. But yeah, I thought that was really weird. But it's kind of a psyop, so false alarm. But because they know Trump is here. You know what I'm saying? They know that we have a new administration. And that days of, you know, I'm not saying that he's any better. I'm just saying they like to say they're doing better and good for our community when they're actually fucking our community over. And that's crazy. So I want to get into Willie Lynch and the power of division.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to revisit the Willie Lynch letter because, you know, when you read through the Willie Lynch letter, even though, you know, some people have said, oh, that's not a real letter. Well, why is it so accurate to how black people have been divided here in America and also throughout the world? Why is so accurate? Very, very accurate. Well, I want to read through this just a little bit and just point out the power of division and how we as, you know, black people, even globally, participate in this particular division. And if you want to strip away the ability of racism, white supremacy to keep controlling black folk, the key is to get rid of the division and how division is used. So in the letter, as we looking at here, he said, in my bag here, I have a foolproof method, it said, for controlling the black slaves. He said, I guarantee every one of you that if it's installed correctly, in which it has, he said, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years. He said, my method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use it. He said, I've outlined a number of differences among the slaves. He said, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. Now listen to that. Fear, distrust, and envy. What do they do with the police? Why do they use the propaganda with police, right? They show a police officer gunning down a black person and running on a loop every day in the media. Now, the police, actually, if you do the research, they shoot more white people than even black people. But based on the media propaganda, is why I say it's propaganda, it will make you think that they're only doing it to black people. So they show this in a loop. And what is the loop supposed to do? Make you fear. You understand? That's part of the tactics of Willie Lynch. It's to get you to fear. Same thing during slavery. They would take a slave out, beat the slave, do all kind of horrible and gross things to the slave, even bug break slaves in front of everybody. All the slaves on the plantation. Why? For fear. He continued to say that he also used distrust. Why distrust? Because when a person distrusts you, a lot of times you're trying to gain that trust of that person. So if you're constantly trying to gain the trust and you'll never get it because that's a tactic that's being used, that's control. He said, and envy for the control purposes, jealousy, right? Validation is part of it. Oh, why this person get to be in the good graces of massa and I can't? So you're not like another black person because they're in the good graces of massa, right? It's all about control. Now he continues to say these methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies or the Caribbean. He said it will work throughout the South. He said take this simple little list of differences and think about them. He said on top of my list is age, but it is there because it starts with the letter A. The second is color or shade. There's intelligence, sex size of plantations, status on plantation, attitude of owners, whether the slaves live in the valley, on the hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, or is tall or short. Now, listen to that list. If you look in the black community today, he mentioned age. The younger people don't like the older people, and the older people don't like the younger people. He talks about color and shade, colorism. Not only do we have colorism in this society in America, but we actually practice colorism within our own community. And you know this. Intelligence, AKA boule. Oh, well, I'm smarter than the average black person. I'm part of this group called a boule. The rest of them are underneath me. I'm next to massa. Of course, you're talking about size, say sex, size, plantation. Now, you can go on, so on and so forth, right? Attitude of the owners, status of the plantations. When I talk about, oh, well, I'm close to the master, I'm getting crumbs from the table. That's a division. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And I'm liking the boule because they all kind of fit into the status of the plantation. They fit on intelligence, things like that. Now, they say where the slaves live, right? So where you live, a lot of times they can create a division that way. Well, I'm better than them that live on the east side. I'm better than them that live on the west side. I'm better.
That's one thing that I think people honestly don't look at because they're so stuck on racism, right? But what about in our own communities? When we as people, we have to look at, they make it seem like instead of looking at the policies, they make, oh, you don't like black women. Well, if the black women are lying, how can you not call them out? If you're not being violent, right, and you're just calling them out for their lies, for their bad behavior, for things like that, how are you doing anything wrong? If you're not being violent, that's the one crazy thing is because we see the mother against sons, and it instills fear, it strips identity, it controls the mind, and you don't even need change anymore. And if you look around today, those same tactics haven't disappeared. They've evolved. That's the one crazy thing. What I can't understand is that people like the newest iPhones, the newest TVs, the newest technologies, the newest PlayStations. So why wouldn't you think that their tactics would evolve as well as the same way that our technology evolves, right? I don't understand that. How do you not think that these tactics, these syndromes, these have been instilled for years? And here's the thing about a syndrome, because the tactics in there with the youngisms, with the ageism, I shouldn't have said youngism, but ageism, ableism, genderism, colorism, they're all tactics to keep it going on for years. It's just not something that you can snap and be gone overnight, because it doesn't work like that. It's instilled in our minds to be slaves because we're indoctrinated and we're taught to believe and think a certain way. I will never understand that. Is how do people not see that?
Than them because I live in the suburbs, or I live, over here where they live at behind in a gated community. I'm better than the rest of them, right? He said, have fine hair or coarse hair. Now think about that. How many times we said in the black community, oh, this is good hair, this is bad hair? How many times have we said that? All of our issues is linked to things like Willie Lynch. Now, no other group in this country have been picked apart in that manner. No other group. Every other group have never been told nothing about their color, their hair. They have never been tried to be divided with age, with intelligence, with none of this. So when other groups try to compare themselves to us, this is why it's kind of silly when I hear that. And they try to do that so they can try to get a leg up, because we are the only people in this country who's had a story like ours, right? Nobody else has our story, period. Now, he continues to say, now that you have a list of differences, he said, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy is stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. He says that the black slave, after receiving this indoctrination, should carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generation for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. It's saying, don't forget, you must pitch the old black male versus the young black male, and the young black male against the old black male. You must use the dark-skinned slaves versus the light-skinned slaves, and the light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use the female versus the male, and the male versus the female. You must also have your white servants and overseers distrust all blacks. He said, but it is necessary your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect,
Right.
and trust only us.
Right.
Now, that portion right there is what I want
Wild.
to home in on a little bit more than anything else. Is that he taught with the folks, they must distrust all black people. It don't matter if you are a saint or a sinner. It don't matter if you are a president, an astrophysicist, a doctor. It don't matter if you're homeless. You are not to trust and have distrust of all black people. Have we seen that in society? We've seen this. So when they say that Willie Lynch is fake, it's not fake based on what we see.
Right.
Now, he said it's necessary to have your slaves, which is the black people, trust and depend on us, that they must love, respect, and trust only us. What's one way that I notice that more than anything? I'll say something on this platform or say it on our African Diaspora News Channel app. Make sure you download that in the Apple App Store and Google Play. Join us and get a membership there. It helps support our show, and we also show content there that we cannot show on YouTube due to YouTube rules. And when I say something on this platform, many, many times you've heard me say it. I've gotten emails in the past from people and they say, oh, Phil, you need to listen to this guy. Listen to what he says. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm about to hear something profound I never heard before. And then I play the video, and it's a video of a gentleman within their community. And he literally saying the exact same thing I said, verbatim. And I'm like, I say this all the time. What's so special about him? What did he say that was so profound? A lot of black people will only respect and trust it unless it comes from them. I said before, I can literally train up a white woman, put her here,
right,
and have her speak exactly like me, and the white woman would gain more viewership.
Damn.
The white woman would gain more love than I ever could gain.
Damn.
All she gotta do is talk like me.
Right.
That's it. On this same platform. This I do know.
Good morning, good
because
morning.
I've seen the responses when I interview white women or women of the communities saying things similar to what I'm saying, and the views are through the roof.
That's wild.
So no, Willie Lynch is not a fake thing, because I've seen that. When he say they must love, think about it. The police will take our children out of here. And how many times have you seen black people forgiving?
Right.
I forgive, I forgive, I forgive. But you don't forgive another black person.
Right.
If they step on your shoe, you ready to take them out of here.
Right.
But with the folks, you love them, you forgive them, you have a definite respect for them. When you go into one of their businesses, you're going to follow all the rules possible. But when you go into a black business or some black establishment, you don't want to respect them. You look down on them. Matter of fact, you are angry if a black person has some sort of rules on you, demand you respect them and their business. You get angry with that. Remember the turkey leg hut when they say, hey, y'all can't come in here looking in no kind of way.
Right.
Y'all going to have to put some clothes on, have some
good
decorum.
example.
Black folks right here in Houston and also throughout the country got upset with that brother and sister for having some sort of rules to come into their establishment. But if it's a white-owned business and they told you the exact same rule, let's say a place like Steak 48 here in Houston, if Steak 48 tell you you got to wear certain clothes to come into Steak 48, you're not arguing with them. You're not telling them nothing. You're going to follow those rules and be glad to follow them.
Right. And feel like you're up the
So when he said that if you follow these rules here, like telling the folks, they will be self-generating, self-replicating. And that's exactly what a lot of you have done. It's the truth. Now, he says, gentlemen, these kids are the keys to control. He said, use them. Have your wives and children use them. Never miss an opportunity. He say, if used intensively for 1 year, the slaves themselves will remain perpetually distrustful. Thank you, gentlemen. But there's also a part that, I want to talk about eventually, maybe a little bit more down the line with always talks.
I want to say something. I want to talk about something real quick, right? because, and this is what I talk about, buck breaking, right? And even with, I see other people, you know, Jonathan Mason, and there's people in Minneapolis, right? Marcus, because we see it with our own eyes in our own community, right? Because they used to do the same thing back in the slavery days to our ancestors, is take the men, right? Because if you take the men, because out of fear for survival, might teach him to be submissive, quiet, and non-threatening, while her daughters are raised to be strong, independent, and self-resilient. Does that sound familiar? Right? And I just want to say that this isn't just historical. You can see the remnants of this manipulation in modern dynamics. Families torn apart by systemic policies, by poverty, by mass incarceration. So that's what I mean is, like, when I got into proclaiming racism a public health crisis, that's one thing that I wanted to look into was, how do we get past that? You know, we're talking about racism, but what kind of racism? Because there's all types. So the kind that I'm talking about is systemic. It's not I don't want to go at individuals, because then I'm going at freedom of speech, right? Y'all invented these words. And what I'm saying by y'all, I mean our government. Y'all invented these words. I'm not mad about somebody calls me a nigger, because y'all stole the word niggas from Ethiopia, Kenya, from Africa. They were using that word already to call each other kings and queens. So why I had to really start to think about this shit, right? Why am I going to get offended? Because y'all already jacked something and turned it into something that y'all want to be, just like the same thing with white and black, brown. It was always that's why I call it critical. It's always been like that. And I will say this, that yes, this letter, the words don't make any sense sometimes, right? You look at it, that's probably not how niggas talked back in, you know, back in the slavery days, 1712, you know, 1720, whatever. But a lot of Americans never were part of a Stockholm syndrome. We were never in Stockholm. We never even been in Stockholm, France. I forget where Stockholm is. Paris? I don't know. I might have got that wrong. Oslo? I don't know. Stockholm. I forgot exactly where it happened at. But yeah, but still, most of us never seen that with our own eyes. So how do we believe something? The same thing with post-traumatic stress disorder. Same thing with ADHD. Because they tell us the same thing. You know, here's the one crazy thing, because I hope people are looking at what a criminal is in a totally different spotlight, right? Even the same with the rapist. Because I sit here and I think about this, right? Jean E. Carroll, whatever she said, you know, even though it happened plenty years ago, we can't go by statute of limitations anymore, because we look at R. Kelly. He's in prison for things that he was doing while others were around him being silent. The same thing with P. Diddy. You know, that's what I'm saying. When all this comes out, it's going to be insane, because we're going to see so many people were around these people but quiet. So doesn't silent mean complicit? The same thing with Feeding Our Future. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it's crazy to me why people can't call it out. Why are you scared? Oh, but I know what it is. It's because a closed mouth don't get fed. And number two, you don't bite the hand that feeds you. And I understand it, but that's also part of the Willie Lynch. It's part of a syndrome, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Right there and bold color is that they'll go pay to this is the one thing that I don't get, right? Is because I look at the state capitol and they go to the black community, they say, I don't even know most of these niggas. They ain't never been to my fucking community. So how are you having these people come up and talk for me, but they ain't never been, I don't never see them. Never. I don't see them walk a block. I ain't seen them pick up no trash cans, no pop cans, no over here going to a grieving mother? Because I feel bad. I don't know why you're over there for political votes and political agenda. I'm over there because I want change. Because I don't want to see this happen again. And I'm tired of it. That's the one crazy part that I don't understand is that why do we have people that go up to the Capitol? They're all paid. They work for nonprofits. You don't see nobody go up there that's not a part of no motherfucking color, which is, that's the one crazy thing that I'll never get, right? Is how do we call people like Larry Hoover and Tukey Williams, David Ford, all of them gangbangers, but we can't call people like Walter Hudson or Donald Trump gangbangers when they do the same fucking things? And I don't get it. How can you can't call Walls a gangbanger? He a political gangbanger. The same thing with Bobby Joe Champion. They some political gangbangers because they represent a color. They're not for the people. They represent. That's the one part I will never understand. A system that they're there to protect. Why do you think we get amendments? It's not about abolishing, eradicating the system. They want to add to it. So then it's all jumbled. That's why even the crazy thing was going on in our state capitol. People don't understand it because there's so much of it. That's what I'm going to do. Hold on. I'm going to put on how many pages our Minnesota Constitution and our Mason's Black Book for legislators. I want to see how many pages all that shit is and just see why these niggas ain't no more educated or more smart than half of these motherfucking police officers out here that do bogus ass shit every fucking day. And then when there's laws and statutes and amendments and all this shit to protect them because they don't know any better. They get that qualified immunity. They get to use that excessive force. But we all see that shit doesn't work in our favor because they use it against us. So how are we as people not going to stand up and fight back fire with fire? And I'm not talking about doing that. I'm talking about when you get wronged, you wrong the motherfuckers back. An eye for an eye. It's not about, that's the one crazy thing is God never said, you see these people, oh, hey, it's an eye for an eye. Listen, man, if it was an eye for an eye, most of these people in America, these Black Americans, we have issues already. Our ancestors had land stolen. There's family members that were executed and lynched. You know what I'm saying? Here's the one crazy thing, because yesterday was just Martin Luther King Day. And to know that America potentially, allegedly, probably, no, I ain't going to say allegedly, but did it. America did it, our own government, because they wanted to instill fear. They wanted to make niggas scared because, okay, here's the thing of it is, if we do this to Malcolm, Martin, Fred, Bobby, Huey, Angela, Assata, Nelson Mandela, Gaddafi, we make them into criminals. We put a narrative out there that what they're doing is criminal, not that they want to change it and make it better for the people, but let's put it where they're criminals because we don't gain no profits. We don't gain no profits in the political world telling the truth to the people. By being truthful and transparent, they don't make no money. They don't make any money. It's the whole thing of the system is to lie. That's why the police are allowed to lie. That's why they have people go in there and get cases just all off of lies and arrest the wrong person. And then if we got to go back, that's the one crazy thing is because I will always remember this, is that our Supreme Court, that innocence isn't enough to overturn a conviction. Innocence was not enough to overturn a conviction. And it's sad to me is like, if innocence isn't enough to overturn a conviction, what is? You know, y'all put all this shit in place, statute of limitations. Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's sad. It's sad because of this, the statute of limitations, and we don't know the laws and our rights. There's a lot of people in America that get fucked over. There's a lot. But if you don't ask the right questions to the right people, you don't get nowhere. So again, if a closed mouth, sure the fuck don't get fed.
About, but there always will be a one or a few that will see right through what we're doing, and that's our greatest fear. In other words, a black person that's, you know, say, wait a minute, I see what they doing, but the key to this is division. Okay, divide, divide, divide. But at the same time, we have to be realistic, because I remember when we even talked about, you know, the African Diaspora News Channel app, and how important it is, you know, to us to have our own and support our own is very, very important. Some people say, well, why can't all of y'all get on one app or one website? Well, the folks don't even do that because it's a diversity of thought. That's like telling the folks, get on ABC, CBS, Fox, all y'all have one website, one app. No, because it's a diversity of thought. I may have a thought, somebody else may have a thought, and we all need platforms, because if you have one platform and they go down, then you're done. So no, we need a diversity of programs, which is very, very important. So we can't even be dividing on that. We need to support each other and make sure we support what's important. But what we have to do is get rid of division, because as you know, division is what's used, and they constantly doing that. They promote that light skin, dark skin, male, female, you know, but when we on code with each other and say we on code just as a community, we don't do that division about no color. We don't do no division about no hair. We don't do no division about age. We don't do no division about, you know, economic status, where you live, where she lives. No, we are on code with each other. The only time we're going to divide is on the issue of good versus evil. You're supposed to divide from evil and embrace good. So if people in the community are doing evil things like going along to get along and supporting a system that's against the community, okay, we supposed to divide from you. We don't supposed to be going along with that. We supposed to be calling that out. Right. And that's right for us to do that. It is. But if it's not nothing going along with good and evil, we have to stay on code. Right. And trust me, when we on code with each other and unified and not allowing none of their trickery, none of the trickery that is given by, because the Bible even teaches that the devil likes to work in trickery. None of that trickery, right? And we just focus on being on code and focusing on our community. And that's why they always want us to pull us away from focusing on our community. That's another way they try to divide us. Because some of us say that's where we're on the community. They'll say, no, we got to go virtue signal with everybody else. Well, I always say this. In order for us to really be whole, we got to focus on our community and our community only. We can't virtue signal. We're not even in an economic position to virtue signal with other groups. And then at times there are certain issues that's in the world right now. No matter what position you take, you're wrong. So I'm never going to put myself in a position where I'm wrong no matter what I say. I just won't say nothing. And that's just bottom line, because I'm going to take all my energy to help our community and never feel bad about having that attitude. Say, no, I'm focusing on our community and what we're doing. So this is why even how we run our company here, we don't run our company on division. We run our company on we work together, we trust each other, and we going to do this thing. We go through our ups and downs, of course, but with your help and support and understanding this is one of the most important platforms that you can support. And also we talked about recently how it's really important to download the African Diaspora News Channel app in the Apple App Store and Google Play and join there. That's how we can shore up what we're doing, because that's also supporting other black businesses as well. You know, just because we're supporting, that's why we partner with other people. Like we partnered with the Real South Africa again. We partnered with them to do the trip to Johannesburg and Durban. Why? Because number one, we should be supporting each other. It can't just be people supporting me, but we have to support each other. And when you support other people like the real South Africa, partner with them, take our people out of here in that system of war that's constantly going on, and giving us a break.
Well, that's the only way, is to unite, right? It's like I said in the chat, the only way that we overcome this is organizing and uniting, right? Because if we're not organizing, we can't fight back. That's the one thing, and he makes a very good point, is that there's people that are cogs in the system that you got to get out of the way, that don't make your community any better, that any type of way make it better, right? So I want to get into a little bit about Frederick Douglass. And I think it's important that we honestly know about our leaders, about the people that we look up to, that they want to shove down our throats, because they did that with Malcolm X. They did that with MLK. They did that with all of our great leaders. And we need to know the history. We need to know where they come from. We need to know the walks of life. Because if we're going to make progress, we have to understand where we came from, to know where we're going, because otherwise we're just walking down the same path that leaders throughout history have been gone through, right? It doesn't matter if it's a sit-in at a restaurant. I don't care about the sitting in the front of the bus, and I give it up for Rosa Parks, right? The March to Washington. But we have free individuals. We have individuals that are locked up who are innocent and behind bars. And because we have rules and loopholes to keep them incarcerated, we got to overcome that. And when we overcome that, then we'll be seen as make America great again, right? So if we're going to be mega, if we're going to be all of this, let's make America great. Not again. Let's make it great. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing about make America's streets safe again. Because we should keep America's streets safe again. We should keep them safe. But yet, it's such a political talking point to keep them not safe.
He is one of the most recognized and celebrated faces of the abolitionist movement to end slavery in the United States. Born a slave, Frederick Douglass escaped bondage to become an internationally renowned orator and author who dedicated his life to crusading against the evils of slavery.
He was a man who was determined to be better than what the slave owners said that people of color were. He was about freedom and justice for all, and he was not ashamed of the African in him.
Now, more than 120 years after Douglass's death, a photograph thought to have not been seen for nearly a century has been rediscovered, offering a new glimpse into the famed abolitionist's life and the time in which he lived.
It was a little like finding buried treasure.
It is not typical of what one might expect from a photograph made in the 19th century.
A team of historians and photography experts have been brought together to investigate the photo's past and work to preserve its future, giving us a unique opportunity to look deeper into the life of an extraordinary man and his surprising relationship with the art and politics of early photography. The city of Rochester, located in western New York, was the epicenter of great religious and social upheaval during the 19th century. In 1847, after escaping slavery and traveling to various East Coast cities and abroad, Frederick Douglass put down roots in Rochester. He would call the city home for over a quarter century, longer than anywhere else he had lived. His time in Rochester would be the most productive of his life.
Rochester was really undergoing a lot of change at the point in time when Frederick Douglass came here. You had the Erie Canal that had been built in the 1820s that brought a lot of new people into the area. So Rochester was really diverse in terms of ethnicity, social class, and religion. So it was the type of place where people were really talking about issues.
It is an exciting place. Many voices are raised in defense of good things, and also there's anti-slavery talk being entertained all the time.
During this time, Douglass staged a relentless attack on the institution of slavery and discrimination in American society, delivering fiery speeches, writing several books, and publishing the internationally read newspapers, the North Star and Frederick Douglass's paper.
By moving west, it really gave him access to a new audience. It allowed him to travel east to those major metropolitan cities where he was accustomed to speaking, but it also gave him access to the audiences to the west as well. And of course, during the mid-19th century, we had our population expanding westward. A lot of the questions of the day had to do with whether or not the new territories would come into this country as slave states or free states. So that Western audience was really important to him as well.
Frederick Douglass was one of Rochester's most celebrated citizens. Here was a man that stood up for what was right in times when it wasn't popular. And he shaped the course of our history. And I like to think that Rochester shaped him too.
That's crazy though, to think about all the things that, Frederick Douglass had to go through, and then even to be like seeing these things of like, wait, hold on, that's not the exact way I want it. Just like the same thing with Martin Luther King or Malcolm X. There was so much happening in America, and I feel like it was to distract us from our pain, right? And I'm serious, you know what I'm saying? Because there's one thing that Frederick Douglass he went on to say, right, is that the holidays are a part and parcel of the gross fraud, the wrong, and the humanity of slavery. And yet we celebrate Christmas, Thanksgiving, and they did things to buck break, to all make us seem like we were crazy. Just like, think about it. Slaveholders encouraged slaves to drink themselves into a stupor during their brief time off, not to give them a break, but to keep them docile. To keep them docile. And yet we fall for it. We fall for it. They give us the strip clubs. You know what I'm saying? They give us the nightlife, the bars, the after clubs, all to make us seem crazy, and then use these things against us. That's what's crazy. They give it to us only to use it against us. I will never understand that. I will never understand that, how we as Americans, especially Black Americans, don't understand that. Of how we, like with the drugs, with the guns, and yet we use them against not them, but against our own people. Because of maybe we don't like that color, we don't like their attitude. Maybe we don't like they might have stepped on your shoes the other day. Not that, you know what I'm saying? Not anything serious. But yet there's a politician that makes your life a hard hell. And you give them a bypass because you have some made up farce of fucking beef with niggas that you don't even know. They don't know you because he stepped on his shoe. Or you're beefing over some territory that you don't even own. That's their territory. So why ain't y'all beefing with the city? That's what I don't understand. How y'all beefing with some niggas like the highs and the lows, right? The same thing, one of the things that I grew up was the Vice Lords versus, the GDs, and it's still going on today. It's different. It's bigger now. It's the highs, the lows. You got the Bloods involved, but there's more cliques. Niggas ain't ganged up like they used to be. You got more avenues. Trays, I-9s, and you see a lot of niggas denouncing these cliques because it's easier for them to use RICO charges against us. That's the one thing when the mafia, does anybody understand what the RICO Act is for? And do you understand? Because there were so many motherfuckers that wouldn't say nothing. So you know what? We're going to charge you because we don't have nothing concrete, but we know that you had conversations with this person about this. So because you're silent now, that makes you complicit. People got to think about that shit, and they use it against us, and we fall for it.
Public Library's Historical and Genealogy Division houses a vast collection of personal papers, records, and manuscripts related to the region. Little did they know, they were housing a unique artifact of one of Rochester's most famous citizens deep in their archives. Sherry Chris is a librarian in Local History Division. In July of 2015, a seemingly unremarkable scrapbook was brought to her attention.
This particular scrapbook was in extremely poor shape. I had one of our pages brought it to my attention that it was in such bad shape that she couldn't bring herself to put it back on the shelf the way it was. There seemed to be an emphasis on notable citizens of Rochester and notable politicians. I turned the page, and there was a photo that I thought to myself, I've lived here my whole life. I've read Frederick Douglass books, I've seen photos of him throughout the years, but this one doesn't look familiar. I started to sort of kind of get a little giddy and thought to myself, well, I need to get some more information about this. I contacted the U of R, and they put me in touch with two Frederick Douglass scholars, Zoe Trod and Celeste Marie Bernier, both from the University of Nottingham in England. They had just published a book of all 160 known photographs of Frederick Douglass. So I scanned the photo and I emailed them a copy of it, and they emailed me back and they said, no, this is a previously unknown photograph of Frederick Douglass. It was amazing to realize that Rochester Public Library had this treasure all these years in their stacks, and to be the one to come across it, it was a little like finding buried treasure.
The scrapbook containing the photo was one of 10 donated to the library by a man named William H. James. William James, an English immigrant, was appointed as Rochester's 8th letter carrier in 1865. He would go on to deliver the mail for an astonishing 55 years, making him the longest-serving letter carrier of his day. James was an enthusiastic collector of local history. In fact, his home, which once stood near Jiva Theater, had been described as a veritable museum of postal and Rochester history. Over the years, he tucked away scores of historical photos, newspaper clippings, and documents into a total of 10 scrapbooks, leaving behind his own unique take on the world he lived in.
Scrapbooks were huge in the mid to late 1800s because they documented somebody's life through their eyes and how they experienced the world. So with women, you might have clippings of recipes or handwritten notes from friends, theater tickets, programs, things like that. By the same token, men wanted to get a snapshot of who was important at the time. Most of our history is told from the perspective of the winners, the rich, the elite, the wealthy. The fact that these people kept scrapbooks gives us insight and a snapshot into the daily life of the average Rochester citizen.
Among the notable people and events recorded in his scrapbooks, William James placed bits and pieces of his own story, mostly news clippings extolling his remarkably long career. One such story, a 1917 Rochester Democrat and Chronicle article, gives a small clue as to how he may have come upon the Douglass photograph. The article mentions that he served Rochester's Old 12th Ward on the city's south side for much of his career. The south side of Rochester was also where the Douglass family lived during the same time frame, begging the question, did William James actually deliver mail to the Douglass family, and if so, did he obtain the photo directly from them?
We know that Frederick Douglass lived on a farm on South Avenue until 1872. At that time, the property was just outside of the city line, so it's uncertain whether the city's postal service would have delivered to his home. However, he also owned a home on Hamilton Street that still stands today. He deeded it to his daughter Rosetta and her husband Nathan Sprague. The couple lived there until money troubles forced them to move to D.C. in 1876. The home was well within the 12th Ward, which we know William James delivered to. It's entirely possible that he was indeed the Spriggs postman. It's also possible that, given James's interest in Rochester's history, the Spriggs may have given him the photograph or sold it to him. We're just not sure how this humble letter carrier came by what appears to be the only print of this photograph.
Unfortunately, records of William James's exact route remain elusive, leaving us to only speculate on any interaction between the Douglas family and the longtime letter carrier. However, the photo holds other mysteries regarding its origin and place in history. To find out more about the photo's past, the scrapbook is taken to the George Eastman Museum, the world's oldest museum dedicated to photography. Todd Gustafson is curator of the Technology Collection, which houses a wide array of vintage cameras and photographic equipment.
For the Frederick Douglass photograph, I suspect the image would have been taken with a what we call a Lewis repeating back portrait camera. These were cameras that would have been used by professional studios only, portrait studios. In the case of this particular camera, it's a repeating back, going to make two images on the same plate. So the first thing you do is you load the sensitized plate into the holder. The holder itself is a light, tight box. You want to make sure you line up the indexing marks. This is what's going to give you the two pictures. So the box gets loaded into the camera. There's a little pin that drops into the first indexing mark. You're going to pull out the dark slide, expose the plate, put the cap back on the lens, put the dark slide back in, move the holder down one more step, pull the dark slide, remove the lens cap to make the picture, close it up again, and put the dark slide back in. Now you're ready to process the image. Mr. Douglas or whoever would be sitting for this would have to come back a couple of days later to pick up his final photograph.
Wow.
Quite a contrast for today where you take the picture and you walk away with it.
Right.
Heather Shannon is an assistant curator of photography.
My first impressions of the Frederick Douglass portrait in the scrapbook was, what is this thing? It was an albumen print, so it was presumably made in the 19th century.
The albumen print method was a revolution in photography, bringing the fledgling technology to the masses. Introduced to the world by Louis Desiré Blanchard Evard in 1850, it was the first inexpensive and easily mass-produced means of creating a photographic print on paper, making it the most widely used photo printing material of the 19th century. It partly owed its accessibility to its humble ingredients: table salt, silver nitrate, water, and albumen, better known as egg whites.
Egg whites.
To create a print, paper was dipped in a bath of salted albumen and allowed to dry. The surface was then coated with a solution of silver nitrate, which reacts with the salt in the albumen to create a coating of light-sensitive silver chloride. The paper would be loaded into a frame in contact with a glass negative and then placed in the sun. The ultraviolet light causes the silver chloride to decompose into silver and chlorine, leaving behind a positive image of silver. Finally, the print was washed with water to stop the reaction and usually fixed with sodium thiosulfate. The paper tended to curl, so it was most often mounted on thicker cardstock. The albumen print had a variety of uses, but is most often associated with the carte de visite and cabinet card craze, which took Europe and the United States by storm in the late 19th century.
Can't overestimate how popular the carte de visite photograph was.
That's crazy. But that's if we go to our historical societies, we'll see this type of things, right? But we don't like to read. We don't like to do research. I'll be honest. You know what I'm saying? But there is a lot of great things. You know, and there's a lot of great stories. But before we keep on going on to the part of the show, man, I want to get into Eyes Don't Lie, Don Tripp. And with that being said, I will be right back right after Don Tripp, Eyes Don't Lie.
Yeah. Sometimes we be blinded by our idea of who a person is or who you want them to be. You be so blind, you don't really see who they really are. If that makes sense. Yeah. I'm embarrassed, dog, I can't believe my eyes. Time to switch it up, cause niggas switching sides. You a bitch, can't even look me in my eyes. I blame myself because I should've seen the signs. I blame myself because I peeped it in your vibe. Should've grabbed my scissors, it was time to sever ties. Time to step away from you, I need more than space from you. Niggas be quick to take from you, but hesitant to take the truth. I had high hopes, I thought you were one of us. I should've knew something was up back when we was coming up. I would break my back to get you half, and that just wasn't enough. When it's time for you to split the pie, I'm always undercut. Break my heart, never mind your foes, gotta watch your bros. I might even shed a tear before I wipe your nose. I never imagined you not with me down this road. When it rains and it pours and true colors start to show. I'm embarrassed, dog, I can't believe my eyes. Time to switch it up, cause niggas switching sides. You a bitch, can't even look me in my eyes. I blame myself because I should've seen the signs. Yeah, it's up from here, but hey, at least I tried. I can give you everything I have, but not a spine. Funny how you hit me every time you in a bind. But every time I need you, you impossible to find. Yeah, it's fucked up when you gotta crop your dog. Got the picture, he too focused on the frame. He don't even see the vision, he's so greedy that it's sickening. Although I'm no mathematician, I can see it clear as day. Best solution is division. I'm embarrassed, dog, I can't believe my eyes. Time to switch it up, my nigga switch sides. You a bitch, can't even look me in my eyes. I blame myself because I should've seen the signs. I'm embarrassed, dog, I can't believe my eyes. Time to switch it up, cause niggas switch sides. You a bitch, can't even look me in my eyes. I blame myself because I should've seen the signs. I blame myself because I peeped it in your vibe. And the eyes don't lie. I blame myself because I peeped it in your vibe. Yeah, and the eyes don't lie. Yeah, and the eyes don't lie. Yeah, and the eyes don't lie. Long live Pill.
Long live Piff. Long live Montreal. Long live Dante Wright, George Floyd, Delal Aid, Thurman Blevins, Jamar Clark, Amanda Sylvester. Live on, man, because I will tell you this, they had to die in vain, and we knew the whole time because the eyes don't lie. You know what I'm saying? The eyes do not lie. The eyes do not lie. But I want to get into a San Diego sheriff, right? We all know that Trump is president. They're talking about mass deportations, but I want you guys to see that our law, there were some things that they will not cross because they know that it's against the law. All right, so I want to show you about these mass deportations and what one sheriff is willing to do to not follow ICE cooperation. They're actually the counties, their ICE cooperation policy. So here you go, San Diego, California, which is a big area where their demographics are really wild. But this is one of the sheriffs I shouldn't say one of them, but this is the sheriff speaking. Kelly Martinez is speaking about the fact that she will not follow the county's ICE cooperation policy.
San Diego County Sheriff Kelly Martinez has said her department won't be complying with a new policy that aims to limit county cooperation with ICE, the Federal Immigration Enforcement Agency.
We'll hear more from Sheriff Martinez live on set in just a moment. But first, CBS 8's David Gofferton explains the new policy passed by the County Board of Supervisors that some say gives undocumented criminals sanctuary here in the county.
We cannot stand by while the Sheriff's Department continues to needlessly collaborate with ICE.
There was no shortage of public opinion last month when county supervisors approved a new policy limiting cooperation between the San Diego County Sheriff's Office and federal immigration agencies like ICE.
Stop using county resources to deport our community.
Look at all the county resources that people are using.
Opponents disrupted the meeting several times.
It is time for convicted violent criminal illegal aliens to be deported. Their families can go with them.
Supporters said the policy would help the immigrant community to trust local deputies when reporting crime.
And as an immigrant myself, I know firsthand what it means to be afraid to call for help when my family needed it.
When it comes to undocumented immigrants in county jails, the new policy requires a federal judge to sign off before the Sheriff's Department can transfer an inmate to ICE.
It says that if the federal government wants the help from the county, they need an arrest warrant. It seems pretty low bar, super reasonable. They have to get a warrant from a judge. You can't just have an agent, decide kind of unilaterally that there's a warrant.
In 2023, the sheriff transferred 25 undocumented inmates to ICE, according to the most recent data.
This proposed legislation, to me, seeks to prioritize the interest of illegal criminal immigrants over the safety of law-abiding immigrants and citizens.
A 2017 state law called SB 54 already allows the sheriff to cooperate and share inmate information with ICE in cases of violent illegal immigrants. But the new county policy prohibits cooperation on a lower level, federal civil immigration enforcement, for example, when an immigrant overstays their visa.
What this is doing is limiting the ability of the sheriff's office to cooperate with ICE on something that isn't for the most egregious crimes.
Immigration attorney Tammy Lynn says the new county policy is not that different from existing state law. In fact, 8 other California counties have enacted similar policies.
It doesn't deprive the local sheriff from already targeting the most violent offenders.
Even so, San Diego County Sheriff Kelly Martinez says her office will not follow the new policy, saying in a statement, quote, "The Board of Supervisors does not set policy for the sheriff's office. As sheriff, I will continue to follow state law." I took a closer look at that state law, SB 54. Here's what it says about a sheriff cooperating with ICE and a county policy that forbids it. A law enforcement official shall have discretion to cooperate with immigration authorities only if doing so would not violate any federal, state, or local law or local policy.
Oops.
David Gottfredson, CBS 8.
Joining us now to talk more about how the county will work with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement is County Sheriff Kelly Martinez.
Sheriff Martinez, thank you so much for joining us. Of course. Let's start with what David Gottfredson just listed, which was the wording that said you cannot do it if doing so would violate a local policy.
No, it says state or federal.
It doesn't
law.
say local.
Right. And the Board of Supervisors does not govern sheriff's policy, and I have the sole authority to run the jails.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up just on that exact point. Okay, so is this a dispute about what the policy says in your mind, more so than the board trying to exert some authority over you in a way that you think is inappropriate?
You know, it's kind of both, but most predominantly for me, it's not allowing me to share information with ICE when they have a concern about an individual that they have reason to believe has violated federal immigration law. And really what I'm doing is following state law and only allowing them to talk to or to transfer people to them who violated very serious crimes: murder, rape, robbery, child molest, willful cruelty to a child, all of those things, drug trafficking. And none of us, I don't think anyone wants those individuals back into our communities. And that's really what this is about. I would feel awful if I were prohibited to allow ICE to know when someone's going to be released who's violated one of those laws, convicted of one of those laws, and goes back into our community and reoffends.
So let's just, so this County Board of Supervisors policy was passed on December 10th. That was about 6 weeks ago. And there was wording that said they'll take 180 days to figure out the best ways to implement it. So this policy isn't even active yet. They have 6 months to figure out how to implement it.
Yeah, so what they did was they directed the county administration officer to look at the policy and to see its viability. And so they'll come back after about 6 months, 180 days, and present to the board and ask the board whether they want to enact this as a policy.
President Trump was inaugurated today. He's widely said that he is going to enforce these deportations quickly. The CBP One app was already shut down. We know that other actions are coming quickly. One big question everybody wants to know, so does that mean, is the sheriff's office going to take part in purely immigration enforcement raids?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked that. Not at all. We're going to continue to comply with state law. Immigration is a federal authority, not a local authority. We won't, deputy sheriff will never ask you your immigration status or your country of origin. A deputy sheriff will never participate with Border Patrol or ICE in any immigration raids or anything similar to that. We just will enforce state law. And we do work with our federal partners to enforce those state laws, drug trafficking at the border, things like that. For instance, we share information related to state law violations.
But not civil immigration.
Right.
And I do want to, for people who are watching, what do you keep referencing, we follow state law, we follow state law.
Yeah.
Tell us what you do to currently to follow state law when it comes to allowing federal authorities access to undocumented inmates.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because it's a little confusing. So when someone's in the custody of the sheriff in the jail, ICE can ask the sheriff if they can have access to that individual for an interview. We ask the individual if they're willing. They have to consent and sign a consent form in their native language or language that they understand. If they do consent to that interview, ICE is allowed to access them the same way any other professional visitor would, like an attorney or someone who's representing them on a criminal case or something like that. Once ICE has done that interview, they can indicate to the sheriff, they can provide us some documentation that they would like to know the release date of that individual. Then we take a look at that individual's record, see if they have a qualifying conviction. In about 800 of the